welcome back to another episode of Bizpedia Team Talks. I am delighted I say, to be joined by three fantastic Bizpedia members. The premise of this show is like a football team. We're having a little team huddle before we go out onto the pitch. We're here to share wisdom. Everybody, you laugh when I say wisdom. Everyone's brought a question, so I'm really interested to see what you guys have brought to say. But before we do that, we're going to start with introductions. So, Wes, let's start with you.
My name's Wes. I run a company called Living Home Tech. We do home cinemas, golf simulators, and general technology around the home.
My name's Jo. I run a design and marketing agency called Clique. We're a full-service agency that will help a whole plethora of sectors.
I'm Benjamin. I'm known as the UK's most hated sales trainer. I take losers and try to make them successful.
Perfect. Well, I hope there's not losers don't listen to this podcast, Benjamin, but you know.
No.
If they are,
average salesman then. Let's put it like that.
Cool. Yeah. I really appreciate the intro. So let's start with our very first question. Let's come to you, Wes.
Okay, so obviously you asked me to come up with a question, and my question is based around books and educating yourself. I'm going to expand it slightly, as we discussed earlier, so if anyone wants to come up with a different idea. So 3 books in love, life, and business that have helped you along your way, or you would recommend to other people starting out in business to help them better themselves.
Who wants to kick us off? Ladies, Jo?
Yes.
Well, my 3 books are, the first one, they're not necessarily based around business.
Okay.
They are based around education, so maybe like learning something or... the first one is one called Fast Eddie.
Okay.
And it's a true story book about a guy who stole 1.2 million, 1.5 million from a Securico van. Okay. And he turned out to be America's most wanted. He was on the run for 20 years. Basically, in about 1988, he stole the van in London. Him and his wife managed to get to America somehow, and he thought he got away with it until he had 2 kids. And then their kids, one was a guy, had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend recognised him. And it was his girlfriend who dobbed him into the police. Wow. So after 20 years, he thought he got away with the most amazing crime. He didn't. That's the kind of book I read on holiday.
It's not inspiring you to rob any banks.
And then it's not inspiring me to rob my bank, but it's great. It's a great book to read. It's engaging. I'm sure there were some lessons there, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah. So Fast Eddie's number 1.
Fast Eddie.
Yeah.
Number 2 is a guy called Tim Spector, and it's about gut health. Yeah. So that was we are probably on a bit of a journey and understanding.
Agreed.
And that probably comes from one of my podcasts as well. So I've listened to lots of podcasts. Yep. Probably the one with Stephen Bartlett. Listen to his one with Tim Spector, a really good one. And it's about how your gut is actually almost like your second brain, they say. So and all the organisms within your gut are like lots of different animals within the zoo, and you have to feed those animals lots of different things because all those animals eat different foods. And what I thought was quite interesting was the bit about fast food. So the reason that if you have fast food, you feel hungry quite quickly, it's because those nutrients and things dissolve before they get to all those little animals within your gut, and then they don't send the message from the gut to the brain to say that you're full. So that was quite interesting. Also, I don't keep a note.
I'm loving this, by the way. Keep going. Learning a lot.
I don't keep a note, but you are supposed to eat 30 different plants a week, which is easier because he says things like seeds, herbs, spices are all different classes 1. Okay. So that is how you're supposed to keep your gut healthy. He's really interesting. He's quite a dry guy, I'd say.
Yeah.
But he talks
the most fun.
No. He talks in a way that actually is quite simple to
across,
understand, and you can really sort of implement some of those things.
He was instrumental as well in the COVID studies.
Did he do the Zoe one?
He did Zoe. That's right.
Yeah.
I've seen him.
Yeah. Completely independent. Collated all the information from the.
So since that point, I like to now put seeds on my porridge in the morning, and we're drinking kefir in, all that sort of wanky sort of stuff.
Yep.
I think I'm doing myself some good.
Yeah.
Then I can have the wine because it's fine. I've looked after the
Done.
guys.
Right, so number 3.
Sorry.
That's right. I enjoy a good shout out for Tim Spector.
Yeah.
Number 3 is a classic. It's an old one. Who Stole My Cheese?
Okay.
Yeah, I've read that. That's a good book.
Yeah, that's a good book.
First book my dad bought me actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite a short book.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a short little book, and
Okay.
it's about mice and 2 mini humans, the same size as mice, and they're in a maze,
Okay.
and they've got to find their cheese. And one day they find this big pile of cheese, and the mice, and they've got their shoes on because they don't know when that cheese might go. So the mice are ready to go, whereas the humans are quite complacent. They eat the cheese every day, and they expect the cheese to be there. Only one day the cheese is gone. The mice are like, don't worry about it, let's just go find some more cheese. Whereas the humans are distraught that actually who stole their cheese and why is there no more cheese? And they spend their time worrying about where the cheese is, who stole their cheese, rather than going to find the cheese, more cheese. How many times can I say cheese? So it's really about embracing change and looking to the future, not being scared to realise that change is a good thing and embrace it and utilise it, and not just being complacent with sometimes like the good stuff. You know, you've got life and nothing is going to change because you never know when life will change and how it will change. And that's probably one based around the business one, is that it gives you lessons about always being on your toes, always being ready to change and adapt and not just staying as you are. That is a really good one.
So we've got Fast Eddie.
Fast Eddie.
Who Moved My Cheese? And then the one by Tim Spector is called...
It's called Gut, Health and Diet.
Gut, Health and Diet.
I mean, that's probably one for snippets, if you know what I mean. It's not right, I'm going to sit down and read this bad boy.
Not riveting.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's like little, I'm going to pick it up. For
If you could find cliff notes on that, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it? That's what you want.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Benjamin, what's your top 3 recommendations?
My top 3. We'll start from light to serious.
Okay.
So the light would be any Jack Reacher novel. I like Jack Reacher. I like those sorts of books. I think like most, I think like most people, when you saw Tom Cruise cast as Jack Reacher, it's like, what the?
No, it's wrong.
He's a 5'3" moron, and the guy in the book is like a 6 foot.
He's Clint Eastwood, right? In my mind, he's a young Clint Eastwood. He's got that kind of look to him,
exactly. And so
you're not happy with the casting?
No, the casting was terrible, and it was widely slated. But apparently, the author of the Jack Reacher novel, what's his name? It's not Harlan Coben. It's the what's his name? That's annoying. What's his name? What's his name? Jack Reacher. Well, anyway. He was happy with Tom Cruise being cast.
He was.
But then it was just another Mission Impossible style movie, which Tom Cruise is the kind of guy that's only Tom Cruise. So whenever you go to the movie, there's no character. It's just
it is what it is, right?
Tom Cruise. So it ruined the whole thing. So no, I didn't watch it.
So you're not a fan of films, but you're a big fan
but
of the
there's a
books.
Netflix series that's come out.
Is there?
That's Jack Reacher. And they've got a guy in there, he looks the
like
part.
Right, okay.
It's been wildly acclaimed as, really worthwhile.
Awesome. Is it out now, is it?
It is out now, it's on Netflix,
Okay.
Reacher. So, any Jack Reacher novel, I find them quite enjoyable. Okay. Lighter. One that I give to all my clients, it's a book called How to Run Your Own Life. It's by a guy called Yut Mining. It's very hard to get a hold of. I've got an original copy, but if you try and buy this, it ranges from anywhere from £500 to £2,000. It's I don't know why it's so bizarrely hard to get a hold of.
Is it
I
old?
picked it up for 20 quid.
Yeah.
It must have been written in the 70s. And basically, it's all about the communications model theory, transactional analysis. But basically, it's an alien comes to Earth, and he observes humans being objective. And when you're observing humans objectively in their feelings and their emotions and why they do what they do and why they act the way they act, you realize how fundamentally stupid we are. And so this alien forces you to look at yourself. And it changed my life because it forced me to figure out I was trying to pursue something that was making me miserable, but it was a decision I'd made as a 10-year-old kid. And this book said, would you take career advice from a 10-year-old kid today? It's like, no. So why are you doing something that when you were 10 years old? And so we realized we're so locked and bound into doing things based on expectations or things that happened in the past or from parents. And so this book, every client says it's fascinating. They said that absolutely changes your whole view on how you look at yourself. I highly recommend it. If you get a copy of it, How to Run Your Own Life.
Who's it by?
Yut, J-U-T, Meininger, M-E-I-N-E-G-E-R, I believe. Yeah. So excellent book. Because everyone says to me, what sales book should I read? I said, don't read books on sales. Read books on how you need to change, how you see yourself and how you act and behave. And then you'll sell better. All sales books say the same thing, just slightly repackaged.
Similar to the cheese one, really. You know, it has that running theme. It's about aliens, it's about mice, but actually it has a underlying theme about it.
And it's just fascinating. It's an amazing read, because when the alien questions, well, why are you doing that? And it's like, I don't know. Well, my dad suggested. Well, why are you listening to your dad? And it's a very good book. And in fact, my wife just showed me it last night. She said, I'm reading it again. Yeah, so it is a very good book. And then to be philosophical then, because we now live in a very odd world, particularly in the West. We sort of live in a post-truth era where anything goes. So I'm going to go back to something traditional. I'm going to say this because people hate it. This is why I like doing it. I would say the next book people should read would be the Bible.
I guess you were going to say something like that.
Because it's full of truths that have been around for thousands of years. Our whole society is built on it.
Is it truth?
Huh?
Is it truth?
Judeo-Christianity, and also our entire legal system, every human right all derives. There's a great historian from Cambridge. I can't remember his name. Damn it, it's annoying. Anyway, he decided to research the world pre-Christianity. And he wrote a book called Dominion, How Christianity Changed the World. And what he says is, what we take for granted now, human rights, you all have values, none of that existed prior to Christianity. We're so used to it, because it's been here for 2,000 years, we just assume, well, this is how humans are. But prior to it, there was none of that. And it just fundamentally changed everything. Our politics, our law has all been based on humans have individual rights. And so it's quite an interesting book. And now we live in a world where you can change your gender like you change your underwear. It's getting all a little crazy, right?
I think it's certainly true to say that there's not been a book in history that's shaped our society more than this one, right?
It's fundamental, the message. Whether you believe it or not, the impact it's had on human history is massive. The book called Dominion, How Christianity Changed the World. I read it, and there's one thing, I'll tell you, this is not out of the Bible.
I like how you've done your book recommendations, though. You know, real vast, your book recommendations, Jack Reacher, into the Bible. I like it. I like your thought process.
But there was a torture. This is a fascinating thing about humans. There was a torture that he talks about in this book called the scaphe. I think it was, if I remember rightly, it was used by the Greeks. And it's amazing, the human mind, how it can come up with ways of torturing people. And this scaphe, what they would do is they'd get a tree, cut it up, hollow it out, and then they'd put a human in it. There'd be holes for the arms and holes for the head, and then you'd be entombed, because you're entombed. And then what they do is they'd feed you really rich food, force feed you rich food. So then you were forced to sort of defecate and urinate.
Sounds like flog.
Well, no, and then what that would do would attract flies. Right. Flies would then breed maggots. And as you're slowly rotting in this thing, the maggots are eating you alive. And you were literally in there until death. It could last for weeks. And as the torture's known as escape, it's like, how the hell?
Who come up with that?
How do you sit down? But this is just shows the depravity of the human mind, right? He goes to all these things, and he was just pointing out how evil, all the children would be put up on the hills in Roman times. If you didn't want a kid, it's like modern day abortion, I guess, except you just stick it on a hill, like out there, and just leave it to die. That was what you do. It's like, that was just perfectly acceptable. I don't want this kid chucking on a hill.
When was the last time you read the Bible?
Actually, it would have been 2 days ago. Okay. I was reading something in it. Yeah, so I find it, and I like the Israelites. No matter how good their life was, they still whinged and moaned, which is exactly the same today. We have it really good in the West, our life.
So yet
everyone's whinging.
Those 3 books, and obviously, let's just stay with the Bible quickly before we move on. Yeah. What's been the biggest takeaways for you personally reading that book?
The Bible?
Yeah.
Everything has meaning as opposed to just randomness. I don't think we're here just because it happened. If it is, it's an amazing... I mean, even modern science, the more you get into the granular, the more complex it becomes.
Yeah.
And even a lot of scientists, I mean, not a lot, but there's many that start to go, really, this is all just happened by... I find it, no. So, yeah. So that would be it. And it's very... Of course, I know how it all ends. I've read the end. This is another reason why I don't worry about anything. Is you can quite carefree attitude. I've read the end. I know what happened. It's like a novel, right? Yeah. So that's why I enjoy it. But I just think there's a lot of truth in there. And again, Buddhists, you look at all the world's religions, they all seem to have a similar truth,
code,
which we're now rejecting in this post, and we're replacing it with like climatism and all
That's
these other
definitely
isms.
a conversation in itself.
Which is weird.
We can be all over the place.
In the old days, it was all the Christians saying the world is coming to an end. Now it's the scientific establishment. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
Turn off your fan heaters. Buy an electric guitar. And it's like, okay, now the Christians seem sane. It's all right, calm down. This isn't going to be that bad. Yeah. It's funny how we just do this. So anyway, those are the three.
Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
very good.
Wes, what about you?
Right, so obviously...
Follow that.
Yeah, I'll try.
The Bible.
So, I'm allowed to say that we obviously told each other what we're going to say today, right? That's fine, right?
That's fine, Wes.
So,
But it doesn't matter if it's not fine now.
it is done.
edit that out.
Because one of my books, so I'm going to do the similar thing to you. So, my first book is Never Finished by David Goggins. Okay. And the title gives it all away, obviously, and it's about his specific journey, never being finished. But it's the same for all of us, right? No matter what you're doing in life, it's never finished. Business is never finished. Family, love, everything, right? So it's a really good, cool book. It's cool to read because David Goggins is a superb human being who's gone from being this kind of fairly overweight African-American, taking himself all the way through training to a Navy SEAL. And then he went through and he did, I think, like 5 or 6 different special forces training and passed all of them.
Whoa.
He's an incredible guy. Now he runs 250-mile races with broken knees and all sorts of things. Incredible guy. Wow. So if you want some inspiration in life, that's a good one.
Okay. That's good.
Next, this one's more for fun, and that is Natural Born Heroes. Okay. Chris McDougall, he's written several books. This one, again, is somewhere handy around running. But what it tells you is that it's an entwined story of human endurance, human ability when it comes to running, playing, and how that has played out in our history. And then it intertwines that with the SAS and the kind of birth of the SAS in the Second World War, when on Crete, we kidnapped the German general. It's an incredible story, true story, obviously, how we did this. Got him off the island. It's well worth a read. It's a really long book, but it's well worth a read. Good fun. And then to play into because you're going to ask a question in a moment. Atomic Habits. Have you ever read this book?
Yeah.
Yeah?
James
No.
Again, it's very obvious what it's about. Habits, building habits, and it's about changing small things in your life to create big change. And if you're looking to work smarter, not harder, having habits that you can rely on a daily basis to simplify your life is the way to go. Okay? Incredible book, very easy read. I did it as an audio book. We discussed reading books earlier on, so you can do that in your 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Thanks for the recommendations. 9 good books there. Adding to the reading list.
Yeah. Great.
Right, that moves us. Nice segue, Wes. Let's move
Like
on.
that.
Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
move on to Joe's question.
Okay, I think my question was, how do you work smarter, not harder? Is that right? So I was discussing this with my husband last night, and I was like, how do you work smarter and harder without, just Googling it and thinking about it? And he said to me, I think you do this already, which I think was a good compliment. And
He's well trained.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
he called it, which I thought was quite a
Working
good
the
name.
algorithm.
Yeah, the one-touch process. So you get an email in, you respond to it, you action it, and then you file it away. And I think I do actually do that. Like I'll get an email in, I'll respond, I'll action it, and I'll put it away. And he said it means you're not getting distracted. So you don't get it in, start doing something, and then another email comes in and you respond and start doing a bit of that. You've got multiple jobs. So you get it in, you organise it, you move it on to whoever it needs to be moved on to, and then you file it away and it's done. So I would say that is how, that would be my tip.
Tip for working smarter, not
Yeah.
harder. Nice. Benjamin, what about you? How are you managing your time? How are you getting the most out of yourself?
Oh, yeah. I suppose I can only speak intelligently about sales on this front because I don't really run a business. It's just me, so I don't have all the politics of people and all that stuff. But I work with a lot of salespeople, work with thousands over the years, and the number one reason that makes them highly inefficient is a total lack of control. They're always at the behest of the prospect. It's the person with the money that seems to dictate everything. And that's fear that they have of being in control because they're scared of hearing no. So they'll just go along, and if you eliminate that fear of being in control and take control, selling It's a lot easier. It happens a lot faster. It keeps the prospect in their place as well. Where equal's not my better, and too many salespeople view the prospect as the person with the money. They're in charge, but they're not. And it's getting them to see that. And so if you do that, selling in life is so much easier.
How do you get them to do that? Give us your top tip. Come on.
The top tip?
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes to the Buddhists, so we can bring in another.
Yeah.
Like the Buddhists say, if I was to ask you what is the root of all misery? What's the root of all misery?
Would the Buddhists say attachment?
Yeah, exactly. It's attachment. If you're miserable, it means you're holding on to something. You know, someone says, I hate my job. Then quit, but I need the money. Then shut up. You know, my girlfriend doesn't love me. Then leave her, but I love her. Then shut up. Yeah? So people are miserable. They're holding on to something. So if you want to make sales good, let go of the sale. So many, got to get a meeting, got to get an appointment, got to get a deal, got to get a... You let go of that and focus on how you're getting there. Just like a professional sportsman's not thinking about winning the race. They're thinking about everything they've done. I've got to get this stroke perfect. Then the next... if I do everything right, whatever happens at the end will be.
Yeah.
And if I do everything that I've trained for and I do my best, the odds are I'll win. I can't guarantee it, but I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm focused on every stroke, every breath, every turn. And if I do that perfectly well, the outcome should be right. I may not like the outcome.
Focus on the process.
Focus on the process. Salespeople are always attached to the outcome. And that's what leads them down this rabbit's warren of running around like a headless chicken. Yeah, so it'll free you up immensely.
Wes, come on, mate. What have you got? What have you got in your locker on that?
Why am I always following this? Right, okay, well, we've mentioned Atomic Habits, but I think you employ people that are better than you. Partner with and employ people that are better than you. For me, that's the key to the success in the business. It frees you up to do the things you're good at. That's the first thing. So you're not doing stuff. Because when you first start a business, you're doing everything. And it's horrendous because you're doing stuff you're not very good at and you're trying to make this work over here. So for me, it's employ people that are better than you or partner with. Depends on what you're doing. Yeah.
Right, Benjamin. Your question.
I believe my question was, if there was one thing you could change about your life or your business that would make you happier or more profitable, what would it be? So for me, I think it comes down to everything. It's funny, I was having a conversation with a guy the other day. I've just invested a lot of money in a social media thing. Because back in the old day, I'd give up my time to make money. I'm now using my money to buy back my time.
Yeah.
And I thought that's so perfectly put. So for me, the thing to make me more happier and more efficient is using my money to pay other people, as you were saying, to do things that I was doing that will free me up.
Yeah.
Use my money to buy my time. And if you can do that, it will certainly make you happier and more efficient. And that's what I'm currently doing now, trying to automate as much of what I do. It gives me more time to do the other things that I'm
doing that with a friend at the moment.
Drive to vineyards in the middle of the day and drink wine. And
Beginning.
For those at home, it's not even 10 o'clock.
So making you happier is having more time back.
Having more time back, because then more time gives you more choice and freedom. And the only reason you set up a business is to have more choice and more freedom. But it can become a millstone for the first, God knows how long,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And you've got to get to a point where it's like, at what point do I decide enough money's enough? Yeah, and you discover when you're in business, you have a good year, but for some perverse reason, you've got to do better than that one.
Yeah.
And it's this fear that if I do the same or less, I'm going backwards or standing still. And because it always made me wonder, why do companies every year say, we've got to increase profit, got to win profit? It's because I have to. But you don't have to.
We don't have to.
We don't have
Corporations do.
Yeah.
Because they've got shareholders
Yeah.
and the rest of it. But actually, you just need enough
Yeah,
to
you just
live,
need enough,
right?
and it's letting go of that. You're not doing worse than last year if you do less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and it's getting out of that mindset.
Yeah, when you do have an amazing month,
Yeah.
and you have an amazing month, and you celebrate, you go great, and then that new month turns, you're like, oh God, I've got to do it all again.
And it's just, it's like, we don't have to be like that if we run our own businesses.
Yeah.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's a weird obsession. My wife said, why do you keep wanting to make? I said, I don't know. I just feel if I'm not,
That's
what am I
I'm supposed
doing?
to do, right?
That's what I'm supposed to do. So letting go of that. So that's what I've been doing over the last 6 months or so.
Joe, what about you? What made your life or business?
Well, I
better?
took it as my life, and things that I say that I should do, but I don't ever do, and that's probably things like spend more time on myself. So, you know, if ever I have a massage, which is probably like once every 3 years, I should have one of these once a month because it's great time just for me and to focus on me. And maybe just spend some more time on, like, allowing myself to have more time with a business and a family. I don't really, you know, I go to the supermarket, and that's my, you know, I'll listen, you know, I'll go for a walk, and that's like my time, and it's an hour. You know, I'd like to spend more time on me, I think, and probably a bit more planning. So I'd like to be able to plan a little bit more. That's on the business side, I think, and to kind of relish and sit down and go, right, we're just going to spend all day planning. We're not doing any work, guys. We're just going to sit around together and planning, and that feels like a luxury. But no, I know something that would really benefit it. Yeah. But every day is always so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me, definitely. Like taking a step back and just having some clarity of thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just need to breathe for a moment as opposed to being overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, they say, like, you know, it's when you go on holiday or when you walk is when actually your brain can actually think freely without being pressurized. And it's having that opportunity to be able to think, which is why I suppose sometimes, like when I'm falling asleep or in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll think of a fabulous idea and I have to write it down because I've allowed myself time to relax and just let my brain kind of wander without me being conscious of it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Wes, how about you?
So I'm actually very happy where I am.
Oh, nice.
Okay, which is a cool place to be. And I can pin it on the time that we adjusted where we work in the business to now I just work on the business. I don't work in it at all.
Oh, that's good.
So all I do is do the bit you're talking about. It's strategy, and it's on Uki as well.
How did you get yourself into that position?
Time and finding people that are better than you to replace you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple as that. They say simple, but it's a process. And it's taken us a lot of incarnations of different, you know, level of staff. We went to one point where we had like 20 engineers. That didn't work out for us. You know, you think we need to be busier. Yeah. What we're going to do is employ more people. That doesn't work out all the time, you know.
No.
So we've actually shrunk back down now.
Okay.
And we turn over more money than we did with more engineers. Because actually what you end up with is you end up with more management to manage those engineers, and you've got more people to make work. And, you know, so for me now, it's being able to work on the businesses without having to work in them.
Yeah.
That's the key to it. Once you get to that level, for me, that's the enjoyment of being in business now.
Yeah.
Really cool. Great advice.
Yeah.
You know, you are happy, and you
happy.
did it. You did it because you're working on the business. I mean, that's your point as well, right? You're talking about actually having time to work on yourself, but also on the business.
Yeah. And I think that we work with a mixture of small businesses and very large businesses.
Yep.
And I think I see that all the time, where like there's small businesses where the owners are so involved in minute decisions that they don't really like need to be involved in those decisions.
No.
They need to be, you know, like, you know.
A lot of the time that's ego.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's they feel like they need recognition for everything.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm quite happy that other people are better than me and they can crack on.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
fine.
you know, give that responsibility
Absolutely.
on because they do not need to be dealing with that side of it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gents, really appreciate that. So I'm going to bring us to our last question, which is mine for you three. Okay, which is, if your business had a theme song or theme tune, what would it be and why? Benjamin?
So my theme, it'll be the one I've had since I was a teenager because I used to love it. There was a comedian called Dennis Leary. Do you remember this guy?
Yeah. He used to be on MTV. He used to do the kind of skit, didn't he? Yeah,
skits. And he had a great song called I'm an Arsehole.
Did he really?
Yeah. And as soon as I heard it as a 16-year-old boy, it was like, fuck, this is cool.
Okay.
And I've always maintained I like that. I'm an asshole, you know. It's such a good tune. Everything about it I love. So I've even tried to use it as a play-in, but they wouldn't play it because they said it's too offensive. That's another reason I want to do it.
Right.
If I can offend the sensitivities of a snowflake, then I'm
You're
living.
all for it.
I'm all for it.
Okay,
Right?
it kind of fits your brand nicely as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Dennis Leary's I'm an asshole.
I'm an asshole.
Ass, as the Americans would say, not arse.
Asshole.
Joe, what about you?
So I asked the studio, and I think that we are all in agreement with one of them. But also, I'd like to probably put in a composer as well. So not necessarily a song, but a composer. So the song is "Tell Me Something Good" by Ewan McVicker. It's a dance song. Probably Google it because I'm not going to sing it. But whenever it comes on the radio, or we put it on in the studio, I make them turn it up as loud as possible. It's on number 12, whatever thing, and then we all sort of like, no, well, me, I dance.
Yep.
So that's probably the song that they think sums it up, and I agree. But the other one, I think, is a guy called Tim Minchin. He's an Australian.
Tim Minchin.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I think he's fabulous because not only is he an amazing composer, he can play piano like amazingly.
Yeah,
he actually pairs that with some really, really funny songs.
Yeah.
And I think those two put together, it's not like you're a comedian and you can play a few chords. He is both fabulous. One of my favourite ones, nothing to do with how it like represents the business, is he's written a song about, he's been with his wife since, I don't know, he's like 16.
Yeah.
And he's written a song that I think might be titled, If I Didn't Have You, I'd Have Someone Else. Basically saying you're amazing, but if you weren't in my life, I'd have someone just as good. And I think that's amazing. It's an amazing song. It's so great to have that confidence to kind of write that song, because the security he has is obviously all there, to say that if I didn't have you, I'd probably have someone better.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll have to add that to like the clips at the end or the links below so you can find these.
Both of those.
Yeah, both of those. Well, follow that then, Wes.
Yeah, well, for me, it's Pharrell Williams and Happy. And, and it's partly because I'm happy, but also I work with my brothers, and they're able to start and finish work when they please, almost, as long as the work's done. Yeah. Engineers, if they work late one night, they have half a Friday off, all that kind of stuff. So everyone's got this amazing work-life balance. Nice. So it's a really nice place to work. Yeah. All right. Happy.
Great music record. We got book recommendations. We got theme songs. Working harder, not smarter.
Wine.
It's not a bad gig. As we come to the end of this team talk then, guys, I want you to all give me your final thoughts. What's the one thing you've heard from this little huddle that you're going to take away from you that really resonated? So let's start with Jo.
Fabulous. I think it is to probably a lot of what have been said is similar to my book recommendation about the cheese, is that actually to adapt, to think about maybe yourself rather than not actually just chasing for that end result, I think. And I think I've had some fabulous book recommendations that I've written down. That is probably kind of where I'm taking it from there, I think.
Where's final thought?
So I've written down these books, and I'm always looking for new books. So I've got Fast Eddie.
It's a good one.
For no reason other than it sounds fun.
Yeah, it is good.
How to Run Your Own Life and Dominion. Those two books for me are, they talk to me. Yeah, very good.
Final thought, Benjamin?
Final thought. I think it's nice to hear from other people who run a business who are happy and enjoying what they do, because I've met so many people in my line of work that are miserable at their wits' end.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to sit in a room with very happy, successful, content people with what they're doing, I think it's nice, because I spend most of my life immersed in people who constantly tell, can't be done, you can't do this, you can't do that, I can't behave. And so it's just nice every now and then just to touch base. And the cheese book, definitely.
The cheese.
Yeah, I read a book when I was a kid called Where is the Cheese? So it's
that's what you're going to get.
Where is the cheese? So this cheese-related books. And by the way, I tried. Have you tried this yesterday? First time ever at a club. Marmite cheese. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
It's quite good.
It's awesome.
Final thought, a lot of cheese.
There we go. Marmite infused cheese.
Name this podcast the Cheese Podcast.
Yeah.
No, look, guys, final thought from me is I just want to say a massive thank you, okay? Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Jo. Thank you, Wes, for being here. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing. Thank you to Excellent Vineyard for hosting. Thanks for B4B for recording. Until next time, keep smashing it. Bizpedia out.